just started, you're going to make an announcement?
Yeah, I think we should make an announcement. So. Okay, we're doing things a little unconventionally tonight. I'm Carla Morgan. I'm the Corporation Counsel, which is the head of the law department for the city. A number of people have planned to come to the meeting this evening because all contractual claims were denied by the City Common Council at its last meeting, which meant that the City Controller's hands were tied. Once the council disapproved of claims, he could not pay pending claims. And so the plan was to present to the council how this affected every department of the city, how it affected contractors, and what essential services were impacted by this, because we don't think there was an appreciation of what services were involved in this. So we have a lot of contractors who come out tonight. Everyone's going to get their opportunity to speak. We have a number of department heads who are going to talk about the budgetary impact and impact on operations, and the fact that these things will start to impact operations immediately. We've already gotten notice from the Northwest Indiana Times that they're going to stop publishing our public notice, our legal notices, as of this Friday because of non-payment of claims. So it's important that even though the council is not here to hear us, it's important that the council know and the public understand what is impacted when the council decided to reject claims, not based on anything that was wrong with any given claim, but just make a blanket rejection of the claims. And again, the council canceled this meeting today without trying to come here tonight and have a quorum. They announced at about 1:27 this afternoon that the meeting was canceled for lack of quorum, but that's not how Robert's Rules of Order work. We don't believe that's how the Indiana open door law works. I think you have to at least try to have a quorum, and then once you're here and you don't have enough city council members present, then you call the meeting. You cancel the meeting for lack of a quorum. So we're going to start with Mr. Val Gomez, who's our city controller, and then we'll just kind of go down the line. But everyone's going to get an opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Okay, I had a prepared statement from the city controller. I'd like to introduce myself, VALERIANO F. Gomez, to Chicago Common Council. At your last meeting on October 26th, the Common Council rejected all the warrants. Warrants 1026cc, 100820cc, 100920cc, 102720cc. I resubmitted these warrants and 3 new additional warrants for this meeting. For some reason, they were not placed on the agenda, even though I believe it is within my authority to resubmit these for review and passage again. Whatever the reason, I am not here for the administration or for myself or my office. I am here on behalf of the over 125 vendors who have been caught up in this dispute. Even though the reason for these actions by the council are unrelated to the warrants and unrelated to the payments that are claims within the warrants, they are basically being used as pawns in this dispute. First, it is unheard of to reject all the warrants. I have never heard of it being done so before in the entire state. The practice is usually to post certain ones for further review or discussion. Secondly, the tighter rejection of these and future warrants to the immediate hiring of 17 policemen is an impossible request. Normally, it takes, I believe, 4 to 6 months for the hiring process to be completed. I would like to think another means of addressing this issue could have been found without causing financial harm to our vendors. These warrants are the final act in the process. The payments for services which have been provided and rendered. Bids, quotes were received. Contracts and agreements were received, reviewed, and acted on by various city boards with approval through motions. They have all been vetted. The state does not allow for prepayments or advance partial payments. Services must be rendered. These vendors have absorbed all the costs of their projects or services. They have payrolls to meet, material costs, medical insurance, various out-of-pocket expenses which they have to address. These vendors followed the rules, fulfilled all the proper steps required to receive their payments. We are legally bound to pay them in a timely period. In fact, the State Board of Accounts required that all late payments be reported to the approving boards to address the reason for late payment. You passed the payroll warrants for the city to avoid hurting city employees economically. Yet these vendors also have payrolls and expenses which will hurt them economically if they do not receive their payments. If these actions are rejecting new warrants and not reconsidering approval of the previous warrants continues, These vendors were suffered through no fault of their own. We are at the end of the year. The city, my office, will start to prepare for the closing of our books in December. There is not much time remaining. Everything continues to be reconsidered at every meeting. In the spring of 2021, we'll be due for our audit of the year 2020 this year by the State Board of Accounts. I believe the actions being taken at these meetings will be of interest to them and open us up to comments from the state. In closing, I would once like to ask you to reconsider your actions and act tonight to pass the previous warrants which were denied on October 26th. In addition, the new warrants passed tonight. There has to be another means of addressing disagreements than by causing economic stress to our vendors. That's my statement considering the warrants that weren't passed. I'd like to also make a statement as far as the 2020 budget on which they zeroed out various items in their budget. And in particular, I know we have other city department heads who will speak on their individual departments, but I'd like to give a few comments on some of the funds. There's our local income tax fund, which they zeroed out 900,000. There's our MVH fund, which they zeroed out 1,500,000 for street repair and maintenance, 3,250,000 for reconstruction. There's our seated account, which under capital outlays is zeroed out $4 million. There's our local development account fund, which they zeroed out to $1,500,000 for contractual, $1 million for capital outlays. There's our grant fund, which we use for matching fund for grants, which they zeroed out, it was $547,000. There's our TIP accounts, our lakefront TIP. In that one, there's $700,000, there's $161,000 for contractual nurse services, there's capital outlays for $700,000, and then there's our TIP Lakeside Gardens, $600,000. This is a concern because I don't think you understand that a lot of these contracts that are tied to these funds and agreements are passed in October this year, November and December. The billing, the invoicing for these contracts and agreements starts in January. We close our books in December. We usually, our books, by the time we get done reporting to the state, sometimes it could go as far as the second week of January. If a lot of our departments are tied to these funds, have to wait to get these funds to start paying their vendors, you could be seeing them going into February. We'll actually be late, and we'll actually have to take, before we can pay them, we'll have to take them back to the boards that granted their contracts, and that'll take maybe another month. So the best practice is never to zero out an account. The best practice is to discuss it with the administration, discuss it with department heads, find out what needs you're going to have in January before the new budget is presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Val. I believe next we're going to have our police department, Chief Rosario and Deputy Chief Rivera.
Good evening. I'm sure most of you have seen from our social media pages all the outstanding work from the East Chicago police officers. From drug cases to getting convicted felons and stolen guns off the street, the officers are able to accomplish these great tasks due to their dedication to the job and the tools that the mayor has allowed us to purchase. The East Chicago Police Department is on the forefront when it comes to equipment and technology. We are the only agency in Lake County with an active shot spotter system. Without it, officers are going into shot fire calls blind. We would rely on someone to call 911 and hoping that they gave us the correct location. Just the other day, it alerted, and officers were able to zero in on the location and take 2 suspects into custody and recover 3 guns, one of which was stolen. Our LPR system, which is our license plate reader system, has paid dividends as well. Thanks to this technology, we are able to see scanned plates, check for stolen vehicles and stolen license plates and wanted subjects, just to name a few things. All of the technology is all tied in together right at the officer's fingertips inside the squad car. This is possible due to Spillman and the AT&T connectivity that we use. We are running on a law enforcement 5G priority network. Without that, the officers are unaware of calls that come in prior to being dispatched. They're unable to take reports in the field, run license plate checks, and check driver license and traffic stops. I say all that to say this. Those accounts for services were always paid in a timely manner. We had funds in the account, and the secretary and the service division would make sure the vendors were paid for their services. We never had an issue with the old way. To change it now leaves me wondering if the vendors will be paid on time, and will my officers be left in the field with no tools to help protect the city, to protect the same citizens that voted you into the office so that you can sit here where you are today on the council.
Deputy Chief Jose Rivera. I just also want to add that by saying the vendors will not get paid until the police department is fully staffed at 98 officers is absurd and unfair to everyone here. Reaching maximum staffing has been an ongoing issue, and not at the fault of the mayor. Mayor Copeland has been supportive of our department by telling us to continue to hire until we reach our maximum staffing of 98 officers. We've been testing and hiring for the past 5-6 years consistently and still haven't reached the 98. We will test applicants and then hire everyone that passed from that list, but still can't seem to hit that maximum staffing number of 98. Never once did the mayor say stop the hiring process or hold off on moving forward. He was the one making sure we opened the hiring process back up after one was closed. He even allowed us to bring officers from other departments as lateral transfers to help entice officers to get our numbers up. We have tried to reach our number and will continue to do so. To give you an example of the uphill battle we're facing, we just recently had our written and physical agility test a few weeks ago. Of the 46 applicants that came out the test, 7 passed both tests to advance to the next phase of the process. There are still several tests ahead, so hopefully we end up with all 7, but that never seems to be the case because it's a long and strenuous process. Once this process is exhausted, we'll be starting the process up and over again. So believe us when we say we're trying our best to reach our 98 officers. In closing, I hope you reconsider the actions taken against us and allow us to have our budget so we can pay these contractors and vendors in a timely manner as we've been doing in the past. Some of those contractors and vendors are part of our hiring process, and delayed payments can mean delayed services, which in turn delays the hiring process. We don't need any more delays when it comes to the hiring process. Our officers also need all the tools readily available to continue to keep the city safe. Thank you.
Before introducing Chief SERNA, I'm going to come around this side. Before introducing our Fire Chief Anthony SERNA, I just want to read a little something about proposed ordinance 20-0027, which was going to be on tonight's agenda. In this proposed ordinance, the council purports to take executive power away from the mayor and establish COVID leave in terms of additional family medical leave, essentially. I'm not calling it the right thing. I don't want to get into too much jargon. To give it to all the first responders. As the chief and deputy chief have explained previously to the council, our police department, while we're at 81 officers, they've covered every single shift. They've done that with overtime. But if first responders start to get additional forms of leave, it may become impossible to cover those shifts. So the mayor, in line with the executive order of the governor of the state of Indiana, adopted an executive order of the city of Chicago establishing COVID-19 policies and guidance for city employees. The governor directed the executive of each city and each political subdivision and instrumentality of the state to cooperate fully with the commissioner of the Indiana State Department of Health and the executive director of the Indiana State Department of Health on all matters concerning this public health emergency. In so doing, the mayor implementing the provisions of the CARES Act and the Families First Coronavirus Response Act exercised the authority granted under the act to exclude first responders and healthcare workers from the emergency paid sick leave and extended family medical leave granted under the FFCRA. Contrary to what is presented in Ordinance 20-0027, the exempt status of first responders and healthcare providers is not modified simply because a reimbursement opportunity has been made available. In fact, the establishment of the exemption was for the primary purpose of ensuring that first responders and emergency personnel are available as the uncertainty of the pandemic begins to come to fruition. Since the governor bestowed upon the city executive the power to establish policy for implementing the governor's executive order to address the COVID-19 health emergency, the city council has no authority to amend what is not legally theirs to legislate. So again, the police department and the fire department have done a good job in protecting our residents, and we asked that they not be handicapped by an additional new category of leave that would throw their schedules and their ability to protect the city into chaos. Thanks. Okay, Chief Anthony, sorry.
Good evening. I'm here with my Deputy Chief Mark Escobedo. This letter that I have prepared today is for the Chicago Common Council, dated today, November 9, 2020. Dear council members, the line item that you have zeroed out in the fire department budget, 439098 contractual services, is used for critically important contracts for the safety and well-being of East Chicago firefighters and the public we serve. The inability to pay vendors from this line item will irreparably harm firefighters and citizens. Some of the things that are paid from this line item are safety inspections from UL, which is Underwriter Laboratories, for our ladders, and Subaquatics Incorporated for our Cascade system, which is our air bottle refill station. Also affected would be firefighter mental and physical wellness contracts with psychologist Dr. Jill Miller and Midwest Service, who provide semi-annual maintenance to our physical fitness equipment. There are many other critical contracts with vendors that must be paid, since some of these contracts were signed early in the year, approved by the Board of Public Works, and services in most cases have already been rendered. Additionally, 2 vendors I spoke with over this weekend who received their letters in the mail, though their payment didn't come out of my line item, they have cleaned, due to COVID, our fire stations, and they have sold us product. One is a vendor who sells cleaning products. So those 2 vendors have informed me that they will not be able to provide services unless they get their bills paid. One of the vendors is even interested in coming to pick up some product that he has a PO for, but is feeling that he could sell it somewhere else if we're not going to be able to pay. So I just want to make the council aware that it's not only these that I've mentioned, but some of the contractors who have provided COVID-19 cleaning services and supplies and products are also affected by this. Thank you.
Next we have Mr. Keith SELVIE from our Public Works Department.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to address the budget cuts that were zeroed out of the Public Works and the Sanitary Solids budget for 2021. I'm kind of shocked. The reason why I'm shocked is that a couple of months ago we had a detailed discussion within the actual budget committee with a couple of the actual councilmen, and I did a detailed outline of exactly of all the vendors that were within those contracts. Approximately $2 million is going to be taken from the budget, and some of the things that are going to be affected are some very, very crucial things for the Public Works Department. And I'd like to mention a few of them. On the street side, the first thing is salt for the upcoming winter season, as well as on the sanitary side, preventative maintenance on our vehicles. During the winter, there are always things happening with some of the snow trucks, some of the actual vehicles, and that money is used to actually maintain those things, as well as security. There are 3 things that I actually have primary responsibility for. Again, sanitary, streets, I'm in charge of facilities management or maintenance, and then I'm also in charge of Block Stadium, the Block Stadium project. I'd like to mention a couple of the actual accounts that are very vital during the winter. One of those are the actual HVAC company that we use to repair our heaters, and that goes throughout all our entire buildings. We have a maintenance agreement in place with those folks, as well as we have rate tables in place with those folks in case of emergency. So with that line being struck, we want to have the funds to actually pay those folks. Some of the other things that are very crucial to our operations over at Public Works, as I mentioned before, is sidewalk saw, any type of equipment that we use to remove the actual snow when and if it does come, as well as innumerable things. As I said before, I was quite shocked because in this detail document that I provided the councilmen, they all shook their head and understood. So with that being said, I'm asking them to reevaluate the approximately $2 million that they actually struck out of the public works sanitary side. Thank you.
Next, our building commissioner, Mr. James Mr. James PORTALATIN, our building commissioner.
Good evening, James PORTALATIN, Chicago Building Commissioner. Earlier this year, I requested an additional appropriation before this council to complete the hardest hit demolition for the sum of $628,000. That appropriation was approved by all of the council members, for which I thank them. I'm happy to report that because of the hard work of so many people, including the abatement contractors, wrecking contractors, the support of the mayor, council, city department heads, city staff, vendors such as NSP Consulting, and my staff from the building department, we were able to use those funds towards the demolition of an additional 32 properties. The total amount of buildings that were demolished using BEP funds was 144 structures. Many of them, all the districts were affected by hardest hit. District 1 at 4308 Magoo, District 2, just to name a few, 4931, Barron, 5012 Indianapolis, District 3, 425 Vernon, 418 Vernon, District 4, 4002 Parish, District 5, 1702 135th, 1705 07 135th, District 6, 3518 through 24 Pennsylvania, to name a few. Many buildings demolished throughout the city. We were able to submit claims for reimbursement in the amount of $2,259,025.44. It's amazing. That's 94% of this grant. That's awesome. We worked hard to get this done. And today should be a day of celebration. It should be a day of gratitude to thank you for your part in that process. Unfortunately, today I come before you truly saddened. I can't believe I'm standing in front of you to request that our vendors be paid for the work that they have already performed. Right now, as we speak, we have a total amount of, we have over $250,000 that was in that last warrant for work that contractors already completed. It makes no sense. We received a call earlier today from one of the local contractors. She was actually crying, saying, what am I going to do if I can't pay my workers? My company is going to close. Many of them being local contractors here in East Chicago that hire East Chicago residents. How does this decision affect my department? Right now I have upcoming 16 demolitions that I have purchase orders for. How can I tell my contractor that hasn't been paid to demolish these properties? 483335 Alexander was set to start November 16th. Go by there. Tell me how that building looks. The liability it presents. I can't demolish it. Board ups. Not too long ago, Councilman Garcia reached out to SERNA and myself for 3809 Ivy. Wide open building. We were able to get to it, do our inspection, called out STM, they boarded it up that same day. Yet they were part of that warrant, yet he's not getting paid for the work that he did. If I don't have phone and internet, how are we going to perform our duties? We wouldn't be able to issue any permits. We wouldn't be able to answer any of the phone calls. In addition to not paying our vendors, I was notified that the building department budget was zeroed out, including the salaries. That means that starting January 1st, none of the employees in my staff will get paid. You are shutting down the building department. That's a slap to our faces after all the hard work we've done. If anyone knows how busy we are, it's Councilman Winfield. She worked under us. She knows how busy we are. Let me tell you a little bit of what the building department code enforcement does. We issue permits. Without any permits, no construction. More than ever, we're starting to see houses getting fixed, businesses facades getting fixed throughout the city. If you don't see that, it's just code enforcement, NOVs. Never have we sent as much NOVs as this year. Our code enforcement department goes out there, writes up these buildings, writes up the alleys, writes up all that to make the city of East Chicago more beautiful. Upcoming demolitions, we still have properties that need to be demolished. NIPSCO release inspections. We have to conduct inspections for properties that need a release. So if we can't do that, these properties, how are they going to have their NIPSCO? Rental registration is another a big component as well. It allows us to be able to contact the owners of property in case there's a fire or there's anything that we need to communicate with them. This not only affects the building department, it not only affects the staff, the vendors, but ultimately it affects the residents of the city of Chicago. As members of the council, you are elected by the people to make sound and responsible decisions for the betterment of the city. And your decision to cancel the contractual service and zero out the wages of the department affects the safety and the quality of life of the residents of East Chicago. Makes no sense. In all my years in the city, I never have seen this chaos. It has to stop. More than ever, we got to stick together. This divisiveness has to stop. This is what's in the ambient. And I rebuke it. Remember what we were chosen for. We were chosen to serve the people. We got to put our pride to the side. All I see is a power struggle, and I don't like it. We need to find a way to work together. We need to communicate. Are you going to get everything you want? No. That's okay. We don't have. We're blessed. East Chicago is blessed. We are never seeing the things in East Chicago that we're seeing today. We have so much work to do. We have a balanced budget. This should be a time of celebration of the achievement that the city of East Chicago has had throughout these years. The mayor's visit and the mayor's achievements are your achievements. You approve. We're all part of this. I pray, I truly pray, that my words don't fall on deaf ears. I ask you to do what is right. Good night.
All right, next we have Mr. Frank Rivera from Redevelopment.
Good evening, Council, and the audience that's here. I think James spoke very loudly in terms of how all of us feel, in terms of everyone who has come up here to initiate some thought process with the Council. That we are here trying to do the job that we were asked to do and what we have to represent out into the city. And my program also takes into account everyone else who's in this room and all the vendors, because I utilize the same individuals as James does. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of times that James and I are so tied together that sometimes I wonder why he doesn't come home with me. But then at the same time, this is some serious stuff. I want to talk about 6 topics that are very crucial. They're the homeowner incentive program, the CDBG and home funds, the Chicago Redevelopment Commission on tax increment, RDA Guthrie Street project, Harborside Apartments, HUD Section 8, CDBG and CARES Act COVID-19 HUD allocations. We have a very prestigious homeowner incentive program, which we do the down payment assistance program, in which all of you have chosen and said, hey, this is a very good program. And currently that program has done fantastic. We have had at least 300 people who have purchased homes here, families who are taxpayers. We're talking about $3.3 million that we've established here in terms of expending and bringing folks here to share the richness of what we provide here in the city of Chicago. I currently have 5 people right now who I have to defund because of the things that are happening right now. And I have to make personal calls to each of the clients and their lending institutions to apprise them that the closings will have to be canceled. And these are people who have put down payments themselves or not escrows down. And now they're going to lose their escrows. In this program, we provide satisfactions of mortgages. 26 of them have to go down to be administered to the Lake County Recorder's Office, and I can't do that now because we're going to be canceled out in terms of all of our entire budget, the entire budget, both CDBG and the HUD COVID program that we are doing now. 2 workshops I have to tell my staff to cancel those workshops. And I also would have to get in contact with the committee members who pride themselves to be there to approve the down payment assistance for those people who are looking for homes. Now they're going to be in danger of losing their escrows. CDBG home funds, now it gets more exciting. Citywide exterior renovation facade program. I got 6 homes in Sunnyside that I'll have to be halting with the vendors, and homeowners will be informed that the City of Chicago Department of Redevelopment does not have the funds necessary due to cuts proposed by the City Council. Residential rehab loan payments. ECDR has, that's the Chicago Department of Development, 100 citizens that are paying on a loan without funding. Who's going to process the payments? Late fees will accompany the payments. And then we're going to have a much larger situation with those individuals who are always paying what they need to pay in order to pay their loans. Then Superfund Zone 2 and 3. James and I and the mayor worked very diligently because we were required by HUD in Washington, D.C. for the city and the EPA and HUD to clean everything that we could possibly clean that needed to be cleaned. And now those efforts are short-lived. All I can say is in that district, 17 residents will not be provided with rehab funds. And again, I'll have to contact these residents to inform them that they will not be getting any funding from the federal government. These citizens have suffered enough. They have felt, and I know this because in our contacts, myself and James, people have come up to us and told us how discouraging it has been that the Superfund has made them feel like they've been suffering for something that they have nothing to do with. And now we are telling them, I can't give you residents rehabs, and I'm very emotional right now, rehabs because of the fact that I have no funding for them. Here we go, short-lived, they're going to suffer again. So be prepared for calls to be made in that district. I can guarantee you, they're going to call you, because they've called me every day when this was going on. And James and I, again, worked very diligently. As a matter of fact, we got off the Superfund list because of our hard work deal with the mayor. The Chicago Redevelopment Commission, we have a distribution of tax increment audits that we do. There are 2 particular installments. And I wish Steve Dalton from the Sender and Company who created the reports that need to go out to the Lake County. And they are about Lakefront TIF, U.S. Gypsum, TIF Annex, TIF Riley Plaza, Lakeside Garden, TIF North Township, Township 1, 2, and 3, it totals up to $4.2 million. Then we have these finance bonds, we have these revenue bonds, then we have these economic development revenue bonds. Who's going to be paying for all that? I'm responsible for making sure that it gets reported, but also through the controller's office, they're the ones who end up paying most of it through us, through the TIF taxes. And now we're talking about, I don't even know if I could even pay Senator and Senator their invoices, because they've asked me to pay them too as well. And I'm supposed to have an overlap, what we call overlap unit, where the units of city and government come together, and you explain to them how this tax increment is working. I don't even know if that's going to happen. The commission pledged, our commission, ECDR, tax increments as well as gaming revenues as repayment for security on these bonds. We have an outstanding principal balance due of $14.7 million. And there's a remaining bond life that is 9 years, with 18 remaining semi-annual payments. Who's going to pay for any of the late fees, or if they can't get paid at all? I don't know. That's what I was hoping for Senator and Senator to be here to explain that. Let me jump on to the RDA Guthrie Street project work. I'll have to cease that. Now, what does redevelopment have to do with the Guthrie Street project? It has a lot to do with it. I'm responsible for all the RDA money that's being processed between the vendor and us, and I won't be able to pay them. So I will make sure that I get in touch with the RDA people in Hassan to let them know. I don't know if they're going to get paid, and I don't know if I'll be able to process the invoices to the RDA. Let's talk about the Harborside Apartments. That's under the HUD Section 8. An agency that we work with very closely has done a very fantastic job in terms of securing the area. They're called Federal Protection Agency. They're expected to get paid $31,996.67. And they will be informed that they will not receive payments till further notice, whenever that would be. Now, let's talk about NISCO, water, phone, and internet bills. All of these are necessities. Maybe not the internet, but the rest of them aren't. HUD reporting will immediately stop. And I'll explain this a little bit to you. Everything that we expend on a tenant, we have to do reports on. And as we do these reports, those reports are essential for HUD to then resubmit money to us in order for us to make sure that the living quality and life of life that they have there at the Harborside Apartment is good. I had a vendor who just helped me out because there's going to be an inspection coming, and that inspection is from REACT HUD. And that's a very, very, very tough inspection. So much so that I had to do a 100% inspection on the whole entire, those that I have bordered and those that I don't have bordered up. And I asked the entire city staff, which James and others have helped, to go in there and do a whole entire inspection because they wouldn't allow me to be moving forward unless I did an inspection on all of them. They're coming out. And because I had a vendor who I initially told them, I need your help because this inspection is coming, and it's coming very, very quickly. And that vendor promised me that he'll have it done very quickly, and he did complete that. Now I owe that vendor about $18,000, maybe $20,000, and I got to tell that vendor, I can't pay you. And they're helping me to get out of a bad situation because they're coming back to inspect all of those areas in which they inspected the first time. So I appreciate the vendor that did that for us. So I'm just saying, be prepared. Be prepared, Common Council, because you've got a group of highly motivated and conscientious tenants who will contact HUD, informing them that there's a lack of funds. I can guarantee you that because they did that to me on other different occasions, not with funding, but other sources. They're diligent, very diligent. The other one, and I'll end this, is the CDBG and COVID CARES Act allocation. That's a very important amount of dollars, and it's been exited, all of it, $0. CDBG is designed to give rehabs, emergency wraps, all these different types of programs that we provide. It also allows us to do other things that most people can't afford to do. The COVID CARES Act, we have gone through a big, big situation throughout this nation, and even in the city, where the COVID-19 was given some dollars to us from HUD, has been allocated $789,000 and another additional $7, but I want to go into that. to help our people with rent, with mortgages, with municipal utilities, stopping illegal evictions. These allocation HUD funds, and I want to make it real clear with the audience and with the council, the allocation of the HUD funds are primarily provided to the executive official, that being the mayor. Auditing that we have every year it looks at federal allocations, and that responsibility again is the mayor's. Other federal agencies potentially may inquire reasons as for allocations being eliminated or transferred into an account, potentially not authorized by HUD. Every substantial amendment that we had to create to provide us our continuous plan for the next 5 years are all in jeopardy now. The SF 424, which many of us don't know, is a technical term to say it's a form that says, okay, this is your consolidated plan, here's your annual plan, and HUD is going to ask, what happened to it? Why are you changing it? Who did it go to? Does the mayor know? Does the council know? I can assure you there will be some inquiries here down the road in terms of the federal government. And with that, I just want to end and to say the same thing that all of my colleagues are saying. We need to stop. We need to look and maneuver together. Because if we keep dividing ourselves, we're going to end up going in the wrong direction. Thank you.
Next we have Mr. Kevin KLOCEK from IT.
Good evening, Kevin KLOCEK, the System Administrator for the City of East Chicago. And tonight I'd like to address the council on the similar issues that the previous departments have spoke on. The first being the outstanding vendor invoices that were on last week's, or last meeting's agenda, the warrant. And I don't want to elaborate too much on, I think we see a common theme here based on what all of my fellow department heads have spoken on, and that's the importance of having our bills paid. The IT department, so my budget basically hits on 3 areas, that being software licensing, system maintenance, including fiber optic cables and security cameras throughout the city, as well as communication services. And as we know, we're fortunate with respect to the fact that the state allows the city to circumvent the process of not approving the warrant and being able to pay our communications providers. So the AT&T bills that we have every month to pay for our main internet service that's distributed throughout the entire city, those are able to be paid in lieu of the warrant not being approved. But that's only good for November and December of this year. Whereas maintenance, I had a fiber break just today that services Fire Station 2, and so because of the relevance in the emergency response and public safety aspect, it was my job to get that up and going as soon as possible. And so when I started to reach out to the vendors that supply that maintenance to us, they were quite hesitant because they have bills that were invoices that were on the previous docket that they've been informed were not going to be paid, and so like anyone else, they're going to be hesitant to provide future services. So getting the cooperation of the vendors, which is quite understandable from their standpoint of not wanting to move forward with future maintenance and services, I see their point. And with that, I have to ask the council to do as my fellow department heads have mentioned, and consider the true effect of what's happening here. Regardless of what the reasons are that you choose to vote to not approve the dockets. If you could listen to all this and reconsider and deal with whatever your reasons are in a different way, but don't hold the vendors responsible for whatever actions it is that forced you to take those actions and vote. So with regards to existing vendors, we can only hope that this can be cleared up quite quickly so we can finish out the year being able to provide the services that we pay for. As far as the 2021 budget, so my budget has been zeroed out in the three major funds that are budgeted for IT, and those are basically contractual services, contractual services, repairs and maintenance, as well as other services and charges. And so come January 1, when we normally are able to open up the books and start issuing POs for maintenance or for services that are payable every month, such as internet service and licensing for software and so forth for the year. If I'm not able to do that January 1, a simple, not simple, but a reliable service such as internet, the impact that will have is not only within the IT department, but for example, our financial system, that is, it's a cloud-based system, so we rely on internet service to be able to use that. If we're not able to provide that internet, that takes away the opportunity for departments to generate warrants for future vendor payments, to generate payroll. Payroll goes through the financial system, to generate building permits, to generate utility bills. This is all going to come to a stop simply because we're not able to fund the internet service. Then there's the licensing for these softwares. It's the same way. If we're not able to open up POs and take care of those responsibilities financially, then those services will cease. And basically, with regards to data processing, the city will shut down. And so it goes a lot deeper than just IT paying their bills. It goes to keeping the services available that drive the city, the backbone of financial systems, timekeeping systems for payroll and personnel. Security cameras. We have close to 1,200 security cameras throughout the city. And so, as you can imagine, things happen, and maintenance needs to be performed on these cameras to get them back up and functional. We have approximately 15 miles of fiber optic cable in the city. One of the only cities in Northwest Indiana to have that function. A break occurs or something goes down, we have to maintain that. We have to be able to bring that up. If we're not, then that's another obstacle to daily performance. So I guess in closing, I'm prepared to ask the council to reconsider what they've thought out to be the actions coming into next year's budget, to appropriate a budget that was submitted by each department back in July, which is normal practice every year. And the reason we do that is because in the past, the council would convene with every department and go over those budget submittals, and that's the time that they would look through and try to correct anything that they felt may not have been necessary for budgeting. But that's why we would have these budget hearings with the council, and for some reason that did not occur this year. The past 2 years, there was no approval by the council and acting on approving those submitted budgets. So fortunately, we were able to revert to the previous year's budget because nothing was approved. this year, it's taking it a step further with saying that we want to submit an approved budget with basically no money in the funds to the state. So that would become our operating budget January 1. That's just, it's not going to work. And so hopefully, reconvene and think twice about the actions and get this resolved before the end of the year. Thank you.
Now we have City Engineer, Mr. William Allen.
Good evening. William Allen, City Engineer. The engineering department uses around $10 million annually just out of the gaming on construction, reconstruction, and contractual services. On average, out of the gaming budget, $1 million gets spent on engineering design. In order to have serviceable roads, walkways for citizens of East Chicago, we must acquire design services from firms to help develop, obtain fair pricing, and execute plans and projects. Projects like the intersection of 129th and Dickey Road are road reconstructions such as Walsh Avenue, Only Avenue, Guthrie Street, which by the way is more than halfway completed, sewer underground work in from Michigan all the way to Evergreen, most of the sidewalk and asphalt in from Michigan to Lincoln Street. Another project to mention is Bearing, and the list goes on. Our annual resurfacing packages where we mill and pave and so much more must first be designed and bidding documents created. This money goes towards that. We have recently expended around $2 million on repaving streets and alleys throughout East Chicago. Part of this in which we work with the council who provides us input on what roadways should get repaved, whether in your own district or at large. We work together to create this list and then we carry it out. Millions of dollars goes towards contractual services. This budget is for maintenance and repairs of roadway assets, building structures, and contractual work. Examples are parking lots. There's one on Deodore and Broadway, the Central Fire Station, the one for City Hall. This money is currently going towards fixing a Little League concessions building that at this time is structurally failing. We have purchased software to help us efficiently track and administer handicap applications. We've acquired GIS services to organize as-built drawings and information from construction projects to make planning for future jobs more effective. Our expenses out of this account are for underground sewer repairs, electrical maintenance for light poles, city-owned signal lights, maintenance of the Dickey Road Bridge, and again, the list goes on. The remaining money in gaming for the reconstruction budget, we use this money for projects where the entire roadway from top to bottom, sidewalk to sidewalk must be replaced. Examples of projects like this are 149th, Wegg, Reading, Walsh, Guthrie, Bearing, and many more. We usually use around $3 million in the gaming reconstruction account, but for projects over this amount, we use the combination of local roads and streets and motor vehicle highways, LRNS and MVH, to cover the difference. These accounts hold roughly about $4 or $5 million, and these accounts can only be used for roadways. I say all this to state that we have a working system that allows us to execute needed projects citywide. You can see the return on that dollar every time you drive down a repaved street or alley, walk a newly constructed site, concrete sidewalk or service walk, or pass by a new community center in East Chicago. You can see where the money is going. You can't hide new streets, new buildings, new sewers, new water mains, and it's clear the progress we have made over the many years. I respectfully request you not zero out the budget, since this will impede progress and stop us from executing projects efficiently. This will delay project start times and may lead to unnecessary extended project schedules. And if work carries over into the next year, we may now be looking at increased costs for both winter conditions and cost of materials and labor. We are already taking a step backwards by not paying contractors who have a good history of doing good work in East Chicago, who help improve it every day. Let's not take another step in the wrong direction by canceling next year's budget for construction projects. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I will now ask for the city vendors and contractors to come up. Please introduce yourself and state on the record what company you're with. So,
Sammy Maldonado, I work for the School City of Chicago as a vendor for the Truancy Department. We help the building administrators try and locate children who have been absent for amount of times where it becomes a question of now is it a criminal act as to what's going on by them not being in school. In that we do home visits. We go and knock on doors, try to provide the parent whatever resources that the school city and the city and our department has to offer them. I believe we've done over like 250 home visits in this time with this pandemic going on, potentially exposing ourselves. But we've done it for the care and for the hope that these children in this time are able to get, that education, that hotspot, that laptop, that their parents can't get or don't have the transportation to get to. We'll get them to it, okay? We get them to it, and we help them that way. Also, we help the building administrators and in the school city try to identify the needy, the homeless families. I know here recently we found approximately 5 or 6 families that are living in hotels day to day, going from hotel to hotel. And through our work and social services, we've been able to offer them those services. Now, by what I understand is that our department, what we work for, the Truancy Department for School City, is paid by, I believe, the foundations and the school city. Through grants, through, again, the foundations. I just hope that that doesn't cause the foundations to stop funding us, okay? And take that resource away from these parents who are struggling in this point in time with this COVID, out of work, children stuck at home, and a lot of parents don't know exactly how to help some of these children with their homework online. So basically, I'm just a little concerned about that. I hope the situation gets rectified so that we don't lose that funding from the boards, from the foundations, from the grants that the school city has applied for. Thank you.
thank you. Did you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Carla Brown. I am a truant officer for Central High School. I concentrate on the 9th and 10th graders.
And I'm truant officer Edwards, and at Central High School for the 11th and 12th graders.
Ron Edmonds, Washington Elementary and Lincoln Elementary. I'm the truancy officer there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Joel Markovich, Operations Manager for STM Enterprises. To my left,
Juan Hernandez from R&D Construction.
So members of the council, many of you are in business or maybe have been in business or never been in business. But for this council to take the action of not paying the vendors is a disgrace, is disgusting, and very upsetting to me, along with Juan, along with many other contractors that are not here tonight because it was my understanding this meeting was canceled. We have a payroll to make. Do you realize what a payroll is? A payroll is paying people that work, that expect a check on Friday. I employ East Chicago residents. East Chicago residents that live in each of your districts. For their sake, for my sake, please reconsider your actions and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank
Juan?
you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Henry Rodriguez, and you all know me. Since June of 1996, I have been coming to the East Chicago City Council meetings. Since June of 1996, there have been approximately 560, 570 council meetings, and I've attended about 95% of them. I've seen, and I told this to a bunch of council members a few years ago, I've seen the sins of the council through the years, and there have been some sins. But this one here has got to top all of them. Mortal sin, that you deny all the services that this city provides for the residents because of an ongoing dispute, because of your hatred, in my opinion, for the man that sits in that chair over there. I know you people. I know about you. Okay? I know what's going on. I've been here enough to know how this process works and how a council meeting is supposed to be called off. And this wasn't right for you to do this. Now, since 1996, okay, everybody has gotten up here that has addressed the supposedly council is supposed to be here, getting paid like Joe Markovich says, pay for their work. You're getting paid $42,000. Obviously, you're not working right now. But I got to make one exception, and one of them since 1996 I've known is a councilwoman from the 6th District who had no part of this. All right, no part of it all. She was with me and Fireman Anthony Copeland back in 1996 when we were attending council meetings. All right, I've known them since then, and we've done nothing but try to do good for the city. And here you people come in acting like the Republicans in Washington, D.C., just trying to destroy everything that's been done. All right, a mortal sin. Thank you.
Do we have any vendors who checked in on Zoom? All right, well, is there anyone else who wants to speak on the record with that? No? Okay. All right. Well, a few things in conclusion. The city administration has been accused of not being transparent, but it's very important that people understand that all city meetings are public meetings. They're open to the public, and per the guidance we got from the Department of Local Government Finance, city meetings and council meetings can be transmitted over Zoom to allow for public participation. So every meeting we've had since that guidance from the state went into effect has been on Zoom. People can come and attend in person, provided the social distance. And at those meetings, all the contractors for the folks who've spoken tonight, and hundreds, literally hundreds of others, are approved in public at those meetings. And not only the public, but every single council person is free to attend. In addition, there's several council people who sit on various boards as a function of state law. So those council people, the state mandates that we appoint council people to certain boards in order to make sure the council knows what's going on in the city. They know what contracts are being led by the city or contemplated by the city. And it's their job to speak up, represent their constituents at those meetings to approve things or disapprove them for the greater good of the city. In addition, all contracts are uploaded to Gateway, which is the state of Indiana's website that provides transparency for every municipality in the state so that anyone can go, log in, and view city contracts for whether it's us, the biggest city in the state, the smallest town in the state. The contracts are all there. Every contract of $50,000 or above is uploaded to Gateway. Every contract for anything is approved by a public board at a public meeting. Most of those meetings take place in this room, and the council, it's part of their job to attend those meetings and know what's going on, or at least inform themselves after the fact. So the proposition that somehow the city is not being transparent is patently not true. Some of the people, the contractors who've been here, attend some of those meetings, but we don't see council people, unfortunately, at the meetings, except the ones where they're appointed to the board, where they could have spoken up about the contracts that they disproved the payment for. The only person who consistently attends meetings is actually Mr. Rodriguez, who just spoke. But we rarely, almost never see council people attend public meetings where these contracts are being approved. And again, there's an agenda advertised for each meeting that shows every contract is being considered, and there are minutes of each meeting that shows every contract that was approved or rejected or altered and every change order. So we do things in the light of day. We're very transparent, and so the accusations that we're not being transparent simply don't match reality. One thing that I don't know, I didn't hear it mentioned tonight, is the contract that we have to provide gas for all city vehicles. That includes all public safety vehicles, all the police cars, all the fire trucks, all the garbage trucks, and every fleet vehicle the city has. But the way that contract works is we pay a wholesale price for gas in a small increment for the vendor who provides the gas for all city vehicles. That vendor cannot afford to carry us indefinitely when the vast majority of the cost of that contract is for the actual wholesale cost of the gas. So denying claims poses a very real risk that our police department will be grounded, our fire department will be grounded. And again, the claims were not just set aside, they were disproved at the last, they were rejected at the last council meeting, which ties the city's hands. So in closing, we would ask for reasonableness on the part of the council. We would ask that you have compassion for the people who elected you and who you serve. The folks who have come here tonight are public servants, whether they're city employees or the contractors who could have spent their time doing something else. There's an opportunity cost to working for the city. And the very least we could do is they've done the work, they've employed people who cannot afford to be without paychecks, and the very least we could do is pay them for the work they've done. We owe it to them under the contracts, and it's just a really raw, brutal thing to do with them, especially with the holidays coming, to deny them money that they've already earned. They don't have an opportunity to go back and work for the last month or so to make up money to feed their children or buy Christmas presents or whatever normal people do. So in closing, I would ask that we adopt a real spirit of cooperation. When I stand here before the council or go to the council meetings, wherever they are, I quote the law of the state of Indiana. We simply ask that the council respect the law of the state of Indiana, respect precedent, and do not punish the residents of the city of Chicago for your disdain for the people, the mayor that the people have elected for the last 10 years as their mayor. Thank you very much. And unless there's anything else, I think we'll adjourn. So anyone else? No? Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Thank you.
So welcome to the studios of WJOB, Mayor Anthony Copeland and City Attorney Carla Morgan.
Thank you, Burley.
Ladies first, okay. Good morning, Burley. Glad to see you.
Glad to see you as well.
Since I've seen you, you're right. Don't too many people take me out of my bunker, but you do because of history of community service. So
thank you.
I'm always honored to be in your presence and on your show.
Thank you, Mayor. So many things going on in the city of East Chicago, and just wanted to be able to share that with the viewers, with the listeners, with the COVID-19 going on. Certain things kind of get swept under the rug, like the progress that's taking place in communities that are still functioning despite everything going on around them, just doesn't get out there. And East Chicago is always my success story. And Mayor, before we get into, in-depth conversation, I just have to share this small observation. On Election Day, last Tuesday, I was in East Chicago. Have to always go to my favorite polling place, St. Pat's, and say hi to everybody.
Oh, okay.
I'm not registered there any longer, so I wasn't going there to vote.
It's probably one of the largest polling
Right,
places.
exactly. So as I was leaving, I was going down Parish Avenue because I had gone and gotten Catherine's daughter, Denise, over at Zion to take her to get something to eat. A car in front of me, Illinois plates, threw out a whole bag of garbage on the street. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I took her to Dunkin' Donut, and as I came back down Parish. All the trash was gone. Mm-hmm. Within a matter of less than 15 minutes, a city department had come through Parish Avenue, right where Washington High School used to be, and had picked up all that trash that had just been dumped out of a vehicle. That is, to me, not only accommodation for the workers for the city of East Chicago, but for your leadership. That in that record amount of time, it was cleaned up.
Mm-hmm. Well, Verly, I only can tell you that every day we send them out like no limit soldiers. We literally have a full-time force and a part-time force, and through all our parks, through all our streets, our alleys, we send them down to clean them every day. Our parks, literally, we have workers walking with buckets, with the little clamps that you pick up the trash with, and hand pick up all this trash. Like I say, like no limit soldiers every day, and it has paid dividends. I mean, what they say, cleanliness is next to godliness, and that's a true saying.
Yes.
When something is clean, people perceive it also as being safe. When something is dirty and grimy, they perceive it as that is crime written. So we prided ourselves on that, and I know sometimes I drive the workers crazy when I just push them to that. But I tell them, you know, my mother had a saying. She say, you know, you can be on it'll come to me. It'll come to me what she used to tell me. Yeah.
But, you know, so it's just great to see the city. It's the beautification projects, the planting of trees, and
yes, our sculptural features. We've probably invested now about $7 million in our parks. Again, the quality of life, the places where families and friends associate and tend to gather to have fun and to uplift their spirits. We've made major investments in our parks and our streets. We've made a commitment to resurface those that need to be resurfaced and do total street reconstruction,
so
and
not
aging
just covering
streets.
over potholes, but actually
yes,
tearing the streets up and
yes, and like we've been very successful in that. I tell people the city of East Chicago has been blessed for the last 6 years now, counting this year. I have sent over balanced budgets with surpluses. Again,
How have you been able to accomplish that? When you see the other cities surrounding you going through major increases in services as far as taxing their citizens, raising rates and that sort of thing, or complaining about their budgets being in the red, how are you managing that in the city of East Chicago?
Burley, we made the hard sacrifices early on. When I first came in to be mayor, and let me tell you, October the 16th, I've reached that milestone of 10 years as being the mayor of the city of East Chicago. And when I first came in, I was ushered in. The city was $15 million in debt. The workers hadn't seen any raises, hadn't seen anything. Police and fire had taken a 5% cut. And again, all other workers hadn't seen any raises in maybe about a 9-year period. We came in slowly through attrition, through making those necessary hard decisions. We were able to, like that big old block of ice, we chipped it. Then things started turning around. Then we were able to start giving our workers raises. Then for the last 5 years, we've been able to give them bonuses. Bonuses coupled with raises. And
That's unheard of.
Yes, when I first started, minimum wage was $9. Now minimum wage is $14 an hour.
Wait a minute, Mayor. We have to stay there for a moment.
Okay.
You just said the minimum wage in the city of East Chicago is $14 an hour.
$14 an hour. Every year I've made a pledge to lift it, and I will not stop until I feel, which the national average should be, is $15 an hour, and I will not rest till I reach that goal, because I think everyone should be afforded a livable wage. And now some may say, I don't think 15 enough. Well, let's start there. It's
a lot better than most
we know
places.
$7.50 isn't.
Right.
So my
so
goal.
you have pretty much doubled that already.
Yes. Yeah. And if I didn't have to wrestle with the present council, I usually make these decisions in the first quarter of the new year. So in the first quarter of 21, I will be making that decision, because fiscally I know where we are. You see what I'm saying? Instead of rewarding people now at the end of this year, when I get that first fiscal quarter, I know I know where we're going for the remaining 3 quarters. So that allows me to give the bonuses. That allows me to give the raises because I believe in going forward. I don't believe in going backwards. It's funny.
Well, the city of East Chicago has continuously gone forward under your
and watch
leadership.
this. I tell people, even when you zigzag, you can still go forward. But going backwards, 2 steps backward, 1 step forward, that's not progress. So my thing is, I don't believe in giving someone something and then taking it back. So that's what me being patient, waiting for the first quarter of the year, doing the state of the city, that I can proudly announce something that I can give them. But to whom much is given, what, Verly?
You have much expectation.
Much is expected.
Yes.
And that's all I hold them to. I hold them to, we will enrich you. We will make sure that you have everything that you need to go out and do your job safely and return home. But we shall get a fair exchange.
Well, that's amazing. And, you mentioned the wrestling with the council. And of course, I don't know how much in depth we want to get into that. It's just amazing that when a city is doing right and you see the progression, and knowing East Chicago and the majority of people who serve on that council and live in the city of East Chicago have lived there pretty much most of their lives. So they've known past generations of leadership and what they have today.
Verly, who was that? Was that a city hall? What these? One of them hosts used to say, the things that make you say, It's like that with the council. The things that make you say, For the last 3 years, I done sent over, and that's just, I'm talking about, I told you, last 5 years I done had balanced budgets.
Right.
Okay, with surpluses. Okay.
Unheard of.
And the last 3 years, and I got to count this year now. I send the balanced budget over with a surplus, and they don't want to act on it. So I vetoed the last 3 budgets, and a funny thing that happened. The last 3 budgets done reverted because the council has taken no action. No action on a balanced budget now.
That's
no, and this one, they pirated this one. Okay, you talking about loot, the booty or the bounty they call it. I sent them over a balanced budget. Okay, and they went to nulling out departments, complete nulling out the departments, the budgets and departments, to the tune of they froze $40 million. $40 million. And they say I have to come and pay homage to them anytime I want to spend it. Even though when I want to spend stuff or I want to ask for money, I send over appropriation. If I want more money, I send over additional appropriation. So it goes before them. And they have a chance to entertain it in first reading, second reading, third reading. They can put it in committee. But no, they want to take it one step. The mayor has to kneel on bended knee and beg them for what is the people's money. Huh? We've made major strides on street, I told you, resurfacing street, total reconstruction, on sculptural features, quality of life things. Just look around the city.
New fire safety training facility.
Everything.
I mean, amazing. Community centers, amazing.
Verly, our police fleet is all brand new. Our fire department, all of their frontline attack equipment is brand new. They have computers. We have shot spotter to see when shots are fired in our city. We have license plate readers on our cars. We have all the technology, all computers. They got new firing range. They got trainer simulators where they can go in there and practice. Huh? We got a turnover in our workforce and public safety where we got young, strong bodies coming in. We can train them. We can educate them. All that money is there. We have money there, Burley. We've been proactive in fighting COVID-19 because we have the funding. Do you know, and I challenge any other city, we have tested all of our workers for COVID-19 to get a grid, to get a map, the layout on where a problem could be in our city. And soon, as someone tests positive, we can now do contact tracing and go across all our workforce and start tracking down where the virus may infiltrate our workforce. We've been blessed with the health department. Diana Byrne is back.
Director of the Health Department. Health Commissioner Jerry Browning. I mean,
there's only 2 cities, Burley.
I know.
There's only 2 cities in the state of Indiana that had a health department, and we're one of them.
Right, you and Gary.
We now have a COVID-19 testing site. We do rapid testing. We can tell you in 20 minutes if you're positive or negative. All these things to fight this disease that's invisible. That's invisible. We got all these tools. We can now send a worker over. He tests positive. We can send them over through contact tracing. They can get anybody they may have exposed, and then we can immediately track it. The person or the people that may have been exposed to them can now come through the health department because we got a grant from the state of Indiana, okay, to where they can immediately get tested. So, all these promising things that we got. And then to get up yesterday and to hear that Pfizer now will be producing a vaccine that if we can just hold on and if we can contain this thing for about another year, the cavalry will be coming.
What is the policy in East Chicago in regard to mask wearing and
Burley, all of our employees for all 8 hours that they work, including me. You go to my office, we wear
I'll let our
masks.
listeners know the mayor has his mask around his neck.
Yeah.
We are all socially distanced, and he and Carla have both been recently rapid tested.
Yes, I got rapid tests. I got rapid tests the other day. Okay, 20 minutes. I got the result on my test. But not only that, Burley, our policy is this: all of our workers, we provide them with PPE. We provide them with the masks that they need. We provide them with gloves. We provide them with hand sanitizers. We provide them with wipes to wipe down all of the vehicles. Our city buses get sterilized on a daily basis.
Of course, East Chicago, one of the only cities with
free
city with free bus service.
Yes,
for the residents.
Yes, and so Burley, like I say, I can't even quantify the blessings that God have bestowed on the city of East Chicago. But sometimes, maybe it's from the pandemic. I mean, that is like sometimes people reach another level of viciousness. Maybe it's because they cooped in or something. I don't know.
No, we know it's more than that.
Maybe it's the fear that the pandemic instilled in some folks. But Burley, I have been called many things. But one thing I've learned in life, it ain't what people call you, what you answer to. My mama named me Ray Anthony Copeland, and you can call me every other name in the sun, but I don't answer to it. And you can interpret
had a couple
who
of nicknames in there somewhere, man.
Yeah, well, you know how that goes. Okay, it's Nettie Boo.
I know the Nettie Boo. I was gonna say.
It's Nettie Boo. But no, Burley. I guess what I'm trying to say before I inhale again is that we have been truly blessed, and right now. And I'm not belittling that the fact that millions and millions and millions of people are laid off, but we haven't had to lay off one person in the city of East Chicago.
Really?
And if we go study with the helm, no one will get laid off in this crisis, and that's why we cannot foolishly squander the money in this period. We cannot unjustly enrich one segment of the workforce and deprive the other segment. I tell everybody is a hero when they work for the city of East Chicago. Those whose job is to pick up the rubbish and the trash, they're heroes. Those who protect us from those who want to do us harm are heroes. Those who protect us when we cannot help ourselves, meaning police and fire, and those who provide medical services are heroes. If the secretary is a hero, when you call and she can send you to the right department so you can get immediate help and solve your problem, she's a hero. Everybody is a hero.
That is so true. I remember Richie Gonzalez telling me once that he was working on a lot cleaning up in Calumet, and someone said, "Man, why are you working so hard?" And it's like, "You don't even live in this neighborhood." And he said, "I want it as clean as if I did live in this neighborhood."
Yes.
That's the work ethic.
It's the thing what Dr. King said. What if in life you are to be a street sweeper, then be the best street sweeper that ever swept the streets. You see, whatever your fate or lot in life is, do the best you can at that, because it says a lot about you. When you walk away, somebody look at your work product, it should speak for you when you ain't even there anymore.
Exactly. But we have Carla with us as well, and Carla, a product of East Chicago, a long family lineage in the city of East Chicago. Went to Notre Dame, attorney, and now the city attorney for the second round.
Yeah.
So Carla, what have your thoughts been, seeing this administration, having, had a family that's been around in politics? I believe one of your aunts was really involved in politics.
Yeah.
Many years ago. And
I'm very proud to be part of the turnaround in East Chicago. I'm very proud that instead of explaining and making excuses for why the city wasn't clean or why it looked run down or why we had so many dilapidated buildings, that now you look at the city and we get compliments from people from all over about this is the best East Chicago has looked, the best quality of life we've had in my entire life in East Chicago. So I'm very proud to be part of that turnaround. And as the mayor said, we're on a roll. Because the mayor runs the city efficiently, we've been able to provide these services to people. He's been able to give raises because he makes everybody accountable for the work you're supposed to do. So, and that was honestly not the case 10, 15 years ago. So I'm just very proud to be part of it. I'm proud to be, to have come back home, and now it's leaps and bounds better than ever in my memory.
I was amazed. I was driving down Carey Street, and I was watching workers out there. Even lots that are empty are being cut.
All our empty lots in the city of East Chicago get mowed.
It was amazing to see that. Work crews were out there, and they weren't just half doing the job. They were making sure it was done correctly.
And then, home ownership is going up because we give grants to help people with down payment assistance.
Tell us about those grants.
Well, Verly, right now, if you're a resident of the city of East Chicago, if you get an existing home, we give you $10,000 down payment assistance. You don't have to pay it back. If you're a city worker, that goes to $15,000 down payment assistance. If you are a resident of the city of East Chicago, if you build a new home, we give you $25,000 down payment assistance. And if you're a city worker, we add another $5,000, again, giving you $30,000. Verly, when I started this program 5 years ago, I remember it was born out of a person telling me nobody wants to live in the city of East Chicago, and that really it pierced my heart. That arrow pierced my heart, and it came into my spirit to put that incentive there. And now I'm proudly to say that in that time span, we got 325 new homeowners.
That's amazing.
Yes.
And homes don't stay on the market.
Oh, woo.
If something goes on the market in Chicago, you better put an offer on it. It's going to be gone quick.
It's amazing, but years ago, it's probably maybe 20 years ago, Mayor, when you were Citizens in Action, I remember being at a meeting, I think it might have been at Zion, and at the time, John Artis was over housing and everything, and this other group we all know about that was sued. Was the only one that was building, and we were like, you were talking about homes, pre-manufactured homes coming into East Chicago, and he was saying, well, nobody wants to build in East Chicago, and this is why we have to use them, because nobody wants to develop East Chicago. And you have proven him wrong over and over again.
Well, Verly, what they say, for lack of vision, what the people will what?
Perish.
Then it goes on to say, what? It said, young men will have vision. Over there in the controller booth, that young man over there, Sam will have vision.
He definitely has vision.
Hey, didn't it say the women will prophesy? But what did it say for old men? It say old men will have dreams because they got to take a nod. You see what I'm saying? So the future is built on vision. It's built on vision, and therefore you translate that into youth, because they have.
Speaking of which, didn't you just do some major hiring? Your police department, your fire department?
Yes. And we're in a constant state of trying to, since I've been mayor, we have 98 police officers. That's what we try to reach. And do you know, for 10 years, I've been in a constant state of trying to reach 98. And we funded it every year. But that's how hard it is to hire police officers. You have that turnaround. maybe they may stay with us 3-4 years, then a job open up where they really want to go. Maybe they really want to go back home to Hobart or Shelbyville, then who don't hire.
So they got all the good training from East Chicago.
Then next thing you know, they go on. But the one disadvantage our department had, because we have a merit system now. I instilled a merit system.
So it's not who you know, it's
that's
how
right.
you
It's
score.
what you know.
What you know.
And so then
that's great.
What has allowed us is that before the merit board, the previous merit board wouldn't let them hire certified police officers. You see, so everybody could rob from us, but we couldn't rob from them. So now they can do emergency hire and hire police officers from other departments that now want to come on our department.
Now, was that because they only wanted to do their own training? They didn't want you trained in another department, or what was the reason behind that?
I don't know what it is, because I kept pushing them to do it. Because it's a very effective tool. You're getting a seasoned person. You get an opportunity.
Maryville just did that. They stole police officers from Gary. So,
Well,
I mean.
and so then, since they implemented that, it's been about 6 months, 8 months. We now have 6 other police officers from other areas that now want to come to the city of East Chicago because they see that when they was locked into other systems that they didn't have the ability to test with their peers and compete against their peers. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And so they saw that they was going to be in nowhere man's land for a long time to where they can come here in a few years, especially when they made master patrol officer, that they had the opportunity to rise and that cream will rise to the top. So I think when those things, then when they saw the housing incentives, then when they saw that you could get residency points, you live here, you get a residency bonus. So when they start adding these things up, they said, they start doing the math, They took their shoe off and used them toes and said, now it's starting to add up. But it used to be that we couldn't get these ready-made police officers. So with that tool, now I think we will see that we will be able to get closer to that 98. But it's hard. It's an ebb and flow in the hiring, and that's all around.
Well, let's talk about private sector jobs, because you've had new companies coming into the city of East Chicago. You just completed the last placement in the Client Avenues, extension.
Yes.
So tell us about some of these other initiatives that are happening with businesses coming and relocating in the city of East Chicago.
Well, I can tell you that we have one. We have a young man, William Marsh. If you go down Michigan Avenue, you see that gigantic structure that he's putting.
I was there when he was built, when they were building, because I always go to Ernie's Body Shop. I love Ernie.
Ernie, yes. And this, we got some developers that want to buy Ernie out.
Ernie might be ready to retire.
Well, I'm just saying, if the offer right, Ernie might take it. So that warehouse / logistic type center, Mr. Marsh is developing, and you see it literally just rising from the ground. It's huge. It's filling out an entire block when he coupled that with the existing building that he owned. Then you have Mike Yumovich.
Yurimovich.
There you go. I just called him Mike because I love him. I can short it. I can cut it short. I can shorten it. And he's Manhattan Mechanical. They teach their own workforce to become pipe fitters, electricians, heavy equipment operators, welders, and he teaches his own workforce. He train them, and then he go out into your BPs, your ArcelorMittals, your safety cleans, all out into these heavy industrial areas, and he do the maintenance for them. And we have entered into a relationship and some ensuing weeks that we will start sending over our part-time workforce so he can train them. They start off at $16 an hour. In 90 days, when they finish their probation, they go to $19 an hour. Then in roughly 2.5 years, when they finish their apprenticeship and he certified them, they will be making $100,000 a year.
Amazing.
Yes, and
This is amazing because a lot of companies will say, well, you don't have a workforce. You know, you don't have a qualified workforce.
We were a kindred spirit. And when we first talked, he said, Marion, I'm telling you, I'm a non-union shop. He say, you know, this is my business. This is what I do. You know, it's not predicated on if I am a union. You know, he said, this is what I do. I mean, just like if you have a business and you train somebody for what you do, and then if they fix radios, you teach them to do radio. So he say, you know, a lot of times, you know, that's frowned on what the unions are. But he say, Mayor, almost 50% of my workforce, or the people that I train, are minorities. Mm-hmm. People that can't even get in the unions. People that the unions have ostracized and never let in. Maybe their retention rate for taking them in is 5%. Mine is almost 50%.
Wow.
And he said, I'm not fighting with them because there's plenty of work out there to do. But for what I do, what I specialize in and do, I have to make sure my workforce is trained because of liability issues, this and that and that. And I get my work because of the quality that I deliver. So I have to assure a work product. And this is how I assure my work product. He says, I don't want to be, I'm not in competition with unions. He said, but this is how I train my workforce. Like anybody, like McDonald's, they hire somebody, don't they train them?
Exactly.
So it's predicated on that same theory that I train my people to go do the services that I want to render.
Fantastic.
At Klein Avenue. And then when we finally hammered out that agreement, and so this has been 10 years in the making for me, you know. And so we were finally able to put
and there was talk of never rebuilding it.
Well,
so, I mean, 10 years in the making.
I mean, they kept threatening the state saying, you take our money, this and that, you won't get it. And the state made it loud and clear. I didn't have to hear the state tell me 3-4 times they weren't giving us the money. And I wasn't going to sit there and keep damning them in 3 languages. And then when the opportunity came that we can do it through a public-private partnership, I said, this roadway must be restored. You know, it has been severed. It has crippled. It has brought a lot of traffic into our city, you know, doing heavy damages on our roads and streets. Mm-hmm. So when I saw the opportunity and then I knew I had allies in reaching this goal, I just stayed focused on the task. And like I say, we just put the last segment in. And what it's going to do is going to allow people to freely move without coming through the city. And those who, and it's going to be a toll road. Now, those who do not want to pay the toll, don't forget, just like in Chicago with Skyway, you can always exit off and go around and never pay the toll. So, but for those who go past, who now tear up our roads and streets, we will have residual monies coming off of that. The city of East Chicago, for every car that goes through, the city of East Chicago will get a dime. And somebody, damn, that ain't nothing. Well, keep picking up dimes, and then sooner or later you have $1, and keep picking them up, you have $2. Keep picking them up. The dollars add up. That's why people take change out of their pocket and they put it in a jar.
Right.
Sooner or later, you know, you spill it all out, you got a pile, you got some money. It done accumulated. And right,
because we're not getting anything from the toll roads right now that come through our communities. You have the Indiana toll road right now, and I don't think you get a dime from there.
No.
And
a toll booth right there.
and not only that, Burley, you looking at that now when that traffic goes through a traditional toll road, it has some kind of arm right there, and the traffic stay there, then they pile up, and all those emissions go into the air. Then, or even with the iPads, they stop for a second and wait to tell you to go ahead. You know, you get the wait ain't as long. So, but this technology that they're going to use on the tour, you drive straight through.
So it's open toll road,
you don't even
all
hit,
across the country.
You don't hit the brake. You just go straight through. And they got cameras. That's amazing if you think about it. The thousands and thousands of cars can go through that section of the toll, and these cameras just reading the plates. And then now you can go online and pay the bill. You can mail the bill. but certainly they're going to get their money because they're going to tax you if you
now,
don't pay the bill.
will you be able to use, if you already have an iPass or an iZoom, will you be able to use that, and will they go ahead and send the money directly to this group?
Yes.
Okay.
They're going to discount, especially people in the region.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be able to, just like with the regular iPass they got now, they got the similar system where you can go locally and you can buy the monthly pass, however you want to buy it, and you get it discounted. They're going to work along with Ameristar. They're going to work along with BP, ArcelorMittal to discount it where workers who want to enjoy just coming, take the off-ramp, go right into ArcelorMittal, that, it's seamless, that they can go on and off. Because now you see when they come out of that anthill, they look just like they all piled up, and it takes them a while. Now they'll be able to go on around.
Real quick, since you brought up ArcelorMittal, we just know that they're recently going through a process of selling them to a company. Mm-hmm. And the research department decided they're not part of it at all. They still stay in the city of East Chicago.
Okay. Yes.
And so what are your thoughts? Any thoughts regarding your two major industries, BP and ArcelorMittal and Ameristar?
Well, I can tell you that I was humble with BP. Our relationship with BP have grown over the years. They have been a good corporate steward. When we just went through the recent pandemic, and they allowed them to delay paying the taxes, BP stood up and said, we're not going to take that, I think it was 90-day hiatus on paying the taxes. We're going to go ahead and pay tax. Some other industries took it and didn't pay us the money. We had to wait. But BP said, no, you stepped up for us when we needed the tax abatement and everything, and the city of East Chicago gave them a $5 billion tax abatement that allowed all of Northwest Indiana to stay afloat during that crisis time. And BP got us all through that rough period. So they remembered that. And they made sure that we, too, didn't go through troubled water. And when they gave us that payment, it showed relieved a lot of the distress that I had. So ArcelorMittal, with the new owners and everything, we've told that we're going to see another level that the steel industry can go to because they said this new company is very efficient. They run it well. Everybody said that this is a step up and not a step down. So the jury is still out. But again, with open arms, we embrace them. But every other company around, especially our major taxpayers, seem to be keeping their head up above water. They tread, but they still got their head above water.
So, Carla, what's it like working with this man? Because his mind goes a mile a minute.
It's pretty intense, but you adjust to the pace and just.
You said the pain.
The pace. The pace. Now, see, take the mask off. The figure. The pace. It might be painful too.
It's a fast pace, but you adjust to it and you just keep things moving. Sometimes I talk to other lawyers about how many different kinds of law I do in the course of a day, and their eyes get big. But we do what we have to do to keep things moving along. So, and again,
so you're doing more than just you're a municipal lawyer.
I'm municipal law, but that's advising every department from police, fire, water, utilities. It's contracts. It's sometimes it's like kind of social services type things. It's all sorts of things. And anything that happens in the city of Chicago is going to come through the mayor's office and the law department. So I've never been bored one day ever working there. And like I said, it's very rewarding to see the change. It's been a lot of hard work, but it's great when your hard work turns into a reward, which is to be prouder than I've ever been of the city that I was born and raised in.
That's
hey, brother, what's that group?
You can take your mask off now, man.
And what's that group that's saying big girls don't cry? Say,
Right.
Oh, Lord.
Was that Tommy James and the Shondells or one of those Four Seasons or somebody?
For people who don't know me, I'm 6 feet tall. So
That's why when I said I've known Carla since she was a young girl, a little girl, he said she was never little because she's so tall.
No, because I want to share a story. I remember when I first came in and Carla had lofty sights, and you should. They say it's a poor foot soldier who don't aspire to be general. So she had lofty goals and everything. And when we first started, she just knew she was going to be the corporate attorney. And she came in, I bust that bubble real quick. I said, "You gonna be
leave it to you."
Hey, I told her, what can I say? I am what I am. Like that what Popeye said.
Yes.
Hey, Bert. So I bust that bubble real quick. I said, "No, you're gonna be city attorney." She looked at me. She left on out, but I say, "You're gonna snatch the pebble out of the existing corporate attorney's hand."
So rather than
just
her
like in company, you
getting it given to her, she was gonna take it.
Snatch that pebble. And so then I'm proud to say that she went from being the city attorney, now she's the corporate attorney. Okay, but I watched her blossom through the years. Hey, when she snatched that pebble, she didn't even want to open up her hand and show that she got it.
Well, I've learned a lot.
Hey. She say, "Look in his hand. He don't got it, so I must got it mine."
I've learned a lot working with Joe Allegretti. But we still have a good working relationship.
Oh yeah. He's a great
the
guy.
mayor has a good team. Which
we've had our battles over the years with pastor administrations and everything, but he's a good guy.
I told Joe, I was going to Joe. Yeah, I say, don't be her mentor, Joe. Be her tormentor.
I wish I had known that was the structure back in the day.
But look how well qualified you are.
He's trained her well.
And we keep things working, keep things moving.
That's fantastic. Well, Mayor, sadly, the city of East Chicago had a recent tragic incident. A little 8-year-old girl was violently taken from us. I know you've put forth your own money toward the award, which I believe now is at $20,000.
Yes.
Anything you want to share as far as someone out there who may have some information that could help the police in solving this crime?
Well, all I can tell you, it won't be solved if the community itself don't step up. If the community itself, if you know anything, I tell everybody, sometimes one sentence can be more powerful than a paragraph. So sometimes one person stepping up can help solve a crime. It don't take everybody. It just sometimes it takes one person to give you information to break a case. And in this case, right there, really, the thing that saddened me the most, if you look at the picture, just beautiful little girl.
Yes.
It can be my grandchild, your grandkid, my great grandkids. I got them too now, early. And but if we allow the killing of someone so innocent in our city as being the new norm, then we are lost as a city. But the one thing I can tell you, Verly, I've seen our police officers just take it to another level. They all taking it super personal. I've seen the community step up and say this is unacceptable. I've seen those who we do business with. 5,000 came from the ATF, that's at the federal level, then 5 from myself, and then 10 came from Federal Protection.
Federal Protection, they're a security company.
They're a security company.
Are they the ones that have the shot spotters? Or
No.
Just the
they
regular
just do security work.
Okay.
And we didn't even see that coming. But
Wow.
but to them, it was unacceptable. And all I can tell each and every one, you put rewards there just as an incentive, but still, if it was no reward, we should say it's unacceptable.
Right.
That the taking of a life is unacceptable. But in this case, the young girl was at home, sitting there doing her homework. And like I tell people, when you do senseless violence, when you just randomly shoot, a bullet do not have initials on it and said, I'm seeking this target. It goes into flight and it stops when gravity pull it down. or when something impedes its progress. That's and just the senseless violence, and now the type of weaponry that they have, and the hands of the now youth who don't even know the power of a gun, who maybe has never even hunted. You know, when I was a kid, my brother took me hunting, and I saw when we shot rabbits, we shot pigeons, we shot squirrels, and then you would see the distortion in the animal's face. I've seen that. I've seen pick up one that you done shot, you see him breathe, then he stopped breathing. You know, so you see the impact, or you can see the pellets when it goes into the flesh and hide, rips up the pellet. So I, as a young child, saw the power of a gun. But you got some people out there now with guns and they got guns and never even fired them. You know, and then the first time they fired, you know, they can shoot 15 rounds, 30 rounds.
Just randomly shooting.
And now they got a little mechanism they can put on the trigger and make it just an automatic, and it'll lock the trigger and it just go.
Yeah, the bump stop.
Bump stop. Yeah.
So, like I say, Burley, I don't know, but in this case, in Chicago, I plead to each and every one of you. Let's remove this stain off of us. Yes, violence. Every city around us have seen an increase in violence. Some want to attribute it to the pandemic. Some say that abuse in the homes is because they all pent up. Some say because people don't have nowhere to go to release their tensions and this and that. Senseless violence is senseless violence.
Exactly.
So I just send that personal shout out to the city of Chicago. Let's show the world that we're better than this, and we will not allow this to become normal in the city of Chicago. Verily, crime is going down 7 years in a row in the city of Chicago.
And I thought the majority of crimes have actually been solved as well.
Yeah, and we had 8 murders this year, and I don't keep track of it. It's just nothing to be proud of. But 4 of those have been solved. 1 is pending. It should be solved in the immediate future. But again, we have a motto that says, if you see something, say something. It's that simple. It's when the good people go dormant or go silent that the bad people thrive. So if you want a prosperous, safe community, then you have to stand up and be accountable for the actions of the bad people. You got to say, we ain't going to take it. We ain't going to take it. That's all I can say.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I know this topic is off limits because of pending litigation regarding that. So for those out there who are wondering why we're not discussing the fire department issues, those, like I said, are pending litigation.
Well, Verly,
unless you want to say something there.
No. But what I'm going to say, let's not lose sight. Let's not lose sight. Have you ever seen a pretty labor dispute? This is a labor dispute. They trying to make it about A, B, C, and to the D. But this is a labor dispute. And have you ever seen a pretty labor dispute when one side wants something and one side want to take something off the table? It ain't going to never be pretty, because when people get something, they don't want to get something back. They always want to take something in. So let's not lose sight of this in Chicago. No matter how some want to dramatize this, this is a labor dispute. And last time I checked, when they say ding and you're in the ring, you're fighting. Okay? Now, they can paint it in a 3-dimensional way if they want to, but it comes back to that 1-dimensional thing. It's about give and take. And I'm just not in just the give spirit. You have to put something on the table. And that's all this is a labor dispute.
Okay.
In my eyes, not.
As your corporate attorney, make sure she listens to every single word you say.
In their eyes, I don't know, they may perceive it different, So
can I get you to say this one thing on the record, Mayor? because I've heard it too often. And could you please tell us whether it is retaliatory?
Verily, this is what I find amazing.
Absolutely
Watch this.
no.
I beat my opponent 4-1. Huh? That was in the primary. So I'm going to wait all the way to October to get my lick back. If it was retaliatory. The two had nothing to do with it. This came, again, this is a labor dispute. This came about, I felt that what they were going to get, because I don't set the compensation, the council does. I felt that what they were rewarding them with, in my eyes, was unjust enrichment. And I feel that if you're going to give somebody something, you have to put a price tag. Okay? You can't just give somebody a blank piece of paper and tell them fill in the blanks, and you don't bring about how much it costs. It has to be appropriation attached to everything. So if you never calculate how much it's going to be, and then you tell me pay for it later. Like I let you go on Saks Fifth Avenue, and I tell them to remove all the price tags, and I just tell you, pick whatever fur you want. You may have 10 furs up there, and they all may be 10 different prices. You got to know what you're paying for. And that's what the original fight in my eyes came about. Now, they can make it about whatever they want. I never asked anyone. I never asked the police for their endorsement during the election, and I never asked fire. It never came out of my mouth, because I know there's some areas that you can ask people for endorsement, because you know you're going to have to what?
You have to
deal with them,
negotiations, contracts.
Negotiations.
Yeah.
So
right.
And the mayor was not willing to trade the well-being of the city for political endorsement.
Well, here's the other thing, and you know, I've heard the dispute, and one thing, it just sounds so hypocritical if you say, well, we supported the mayor when he first ran, and then he went and did all these changes. Well, if you supported him and he made these changes, then you should know it's not about your support. It's about, you know, the city and saving the city dollars and moving the city forward. So
the fiscal health of the city and the efficiency. And
well, all I can say, Verly, is when I first started, I told you, police and fire had taken a 5% cut. The first action I did as mayor was restore, in good faith, I gave them that 5% back. That's when we was in a $15 million hole, because I knew how essential they was to the city. And I say, going forth, we're going to negotiate on what we actually see that the city has in its coffers. But I'm not going to open them up and just let you just go in like a kid when on Halloween. You sit there and you got a bowl full of candy, and you tell them take what they want. They go, ah. But then that's why people usually ration it off to when they come. You see? But, you know, again, this too shall pass. And I would say we will get over this labor dispute. But each one of us will be putting some on the table, and this thing can be resolved tomorrow. We did a meet and confer.
Yeah.
We did a meeting confer with them earlier this year, and they have yet to want to come to the table. This will be solved when we ink the contract. Now, they can go around the contract, they can go under the contract, they can go over the contract, but this won't be solved till we put the ink and the drown the contract. Now, the city of East Chicago, the city of East Chicago, you now see my position. This is a labor dispute.
Thank you, Mayor. Carla, we're coming close to the end of our program, and any things you want to share, being a product of East Chicago and working so closely in the city?
Well, I think that the things we've put together to help our city weather the storm of COVID are very important. The testing, anybody can come get testing. Not only city workers, but anybody who suspects that they may have been exposed can come to our health department at 200 West Chicago Avenue and get tested during the week. And the tests are free. And it's very important. We've, as the mayor described, we've stepped up sanitation. We've stepped up a lot of practices in order to protect both the residents and the workers in the city. And this is an atmosphere where a lot of cities have had to, make cutbacks. People are borrowing to make sure they can make payroll. But because the mayor, as he stated, has sent over balanced budgets with surpluses for years, we've been able to weather the storm. And that's why you want to have a surplus, so that, if you get a bump in the road, you're not, you're not desperate.
Right. Some people would call it a rainy day fund. I mean, it's been a fund where you're not using casino dollars to run the city.
That's
and so
right.
you have those benefits that East Chicago's been able to take advantage of.
And then when you have an emergency, like for instance, we're doing emergency sewer repair, cleaning and then repair along Alder, and the Alder Street sewer is the biggest sewer line that serves the whole city. Because we have a surplus, we have funds to do these emergency repairs on a timely basis. If we didn't have a surplus and we were still in a hole, then we could not do the road projects. We couldn't do the big infrastructure projects that protects people's investments in their homes.
And don't forget, Carla, that the Roxana project to control the flooding problem over there, which people put their head in the sand for all these years, we found a permanent solution. We had to find $3 million for that. We had it. For the Alder Street project, that's a 8-foot in diameter sewer line. That's 100 years old. That has to be fixed. We found the 12 million. So
what was that, made of brick or something?
Brick. Yes.
It was,
Brick.
it was ancient, yeah.
So we found
Clay and brick.
we had the $15 million to tackle this problem. And so then that's what a surplus can do for you. And now the hardest thing for me to get the council to see, now is the time to sit on your surplus and to borrow money when it's probably at the lowest interest rates in the history of the nation.
Right.
Now is the time to borrow your money and slowly pay back the bonds that you borrow now in this atmosphere. But they don't get it. They don't get it. But you know what, Verly, let me, I don't know if we're coming to closing.
We're coming to closing,
Okay.
Mayor, and I want you to definitely talk about some things happening in the city. I just want to ask you one question before you do that, regarding water. And I know the city of East Chicago has their own water filtration plant.
Yes.
You actually sell water, I believe, to...
No, not yet, but we're working on it.
But you're working on doing
Well,
it.
we used to sell it to American
Water, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But we don't anymore.
Okay, so I know there are other communities that are looking perhaps to get out of some of the agreements they've had with other communities.
Yes.
Will East Chicago in the future be available for selling water to surrounding communities?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Right now, we've been empowered to take 30 million gallons day out of Lake Michigan. And so then roughly, even at our peak moments, maybe we use 18 million gallons to supply our residents and industry. So we have the remaining amount, roughly maybe about 13 million gallons that we're able to sell. We've had communities, and we're in talks as we speak with some of these communities about how do we get the water to them, the transmission of getting the water from point A to point B, and that's where I look to enter into a relationship with Hammond. Hammond lies in between us and some of these communities to distribute that, and whenever Mayor McDermott and myself, if we can reach an equitable agreement where we both benefit from it, I believe we will be able to solve some of these water problems going south of here.
Great, thank you, Mayor. Now go ahead. What's happening in the city of East Chicago?
Well, it's not so much that. I just want to give a personal plea in these last few minutes out to the city of East Chicago. The COVID cases across the nation is rising. We are setting new records that nobody are proud of, these records, that these cases are increasing. And this is across the nation. This is across all cities. Yes. And I give you, for instance, Verly, in April of this year, we had 117 cases. May, it went to 325. It doubled. Then we went in June to 498. Then in July, it went to 917. Then in September, it went to 1,054. And in October, it went to 1,143 with 24 deaths. And what we're saying in Chicago, where your mask. And Verily, I look forward to the day between now and we have an effective a vaccine that they make it mandatory. I pray that the incoming president, and I pray that God give him longevity and wisdom, that just like with seatbelts, no one wanted to wear seatbelts. First they started off a choice, then they made it mandatory, then they started saying don't have it on see that we fine you. And look at how many lives have been saved.
Exactly.
Then when they coupled that with airbags, people start living through horrendous crashes. And this is the same thing. This is about protecting each other. And when we get past this crisis, we will be better off. But me personally, I think it should be mandated that you wear a mask. Just like when you drive a car, you got to be buckled up. And Berlin, that's why in the city of Chicago, for all 8 hours when a person works this shift, they have to have their mask. I wear a mask for all 8 hours that I'm at work. And the only time they don't wear the mask is if they're in an isolated case, like if you drive in a car by yourself, you don't have to wear a mask.
Right.
If you're in an office by yourself, you don't have to wear a mask. You see what I'm saying? But anytime you with another person or you're around other people, you're going to wear that mask and you're going to practice social distancing and you're going to do sanitary practices, especially if you have no sanitizer. What they say, washing your hands is probably the #1 defense from contact touching. So my thing is, East Chicago, let's keep each other safe. Let's keep each other safe.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate you tuning in today. This has been WJOB, Jet in the Region, myself, Verly Suggs, along with Mayor Anthony Copeland, and our corporate counsel for the City of East Chicago, Carla Morgan. Thank you both for joining me today.
So much, Verly.
With that said, we're going to turn it over to Sam. Of course.